In this full pipeline project, we're going to go from this concept in Photoshop to 3D modeling in Maya, texturing in Substance Painter, and importing all that into Unreal Engine. All right, so we're going to start by getting a reference. Now this reference I've just pulled off the Alternative Brewing website. Got a reference of this kettle. I'm going to pop it into Pure Ref. And let's make a new Photoshop project. Going 2K by 2K. Make a new layer for the outline. Make sure my brush settings are the same. And let's get started. So I'll start with drawing the spout. And I like how this one's turned out. One confident curve. I'm just going to duplicate this because it's very hard to draw two curves like this the same. A little bit of cheating here. That should do. It's got a straight end like this, and I may have drawn that on the wrong layer. When I duplicated it, it's made two layers, so I just need to merge these together. Outline. And as usual, it's just a concept. Doesn't need to be perfect. I say as I try to get it perfect. All right, now we're going to use symmetry to draw the main canister. I just need to move this one over a little bit so I have more room. Symmetry's on. I've still got the outline selected. Okay. Top the bottom so you can see how the symmetry is working there. Got a rounded bottom. This is the kettle I have in real life, so I've got a good idea of what it looks like already. Okay. I'll draw the base as well. I will model this base as well. And now the cap. Cap's a bit of a harder shape. But just drawing those confident lines one at a time, and you'll get that. I think that's just ended up a bit too wide. Let's try again. Okay. Right now I can draw the handle. I chose this kettle as well because it's got a lot of very just simple shapes. Now the handles, the top of the handle is flat, but the bottom of the handle is not. It is on an angle. And I'm just shift clicking to get these lines. So I'm clicking at the top, I'm holding down shift, and then clicking again to get a straight line. And when I was drawing the base and the bottom of the kettle, I was just shift and dragging to get perfectly straight lines. Might have just made this one a bit too long. Need room for the extra cap. And it's the same kind of shape as the lid handle. I'm going to keep attempting that till I'm happy with it. That might do. And I think that's the outline finish. Add that one little there for the metal. We can add a color layer now. I'll stick with the same color scheme of the reference. Kind of a baby sky blue. Make the brush bigger to get a lot of this done at once. And then I can go around and do the outline first, so then I can use the paint bucket to fill. And just using shift clicking. Like so. Now I just make it smaller to get in the corners. I'm drawing on top of the outline right now, but I can move the outline back on top of the color when I'm done. Just changing to eraser to get rid of some of that. The bottom of the handle is the same color as the canister, and the base here is the same color. This is a very simple model, another good one for practicing with. There won't be a lot of texturing work required with this one. Now for the spout, I'm going to turn the smoothing up a lot more so I can get this curve right. I'm just try to get it all in one stroke. And then I can just finish in the rest. Bring this back down to 20%. There's really only two colors to this, excluding the buttons. We've just got the blue and the metallic steel. Which we can fill in now. Following the same process I did with the last video. I'm going to do all colors first, and then we'll add shading. Going for a 3-toned concept. Enough to get the idea across, enough to get volume across. We can bring the outline back up in front now. We can do the shading now. Change the layer type to multiply, and we're just going to use the exact same colors. You don't need to know exactly how the multiply works. Anything that's non-white will darken. Okay, now the blue, using the same color. And so on this model, I'm imagining the light is on the left, so I'm going to put shading on the right. Very simple. And I'm on the upper left, so I'll also put some shading on the bottom where I think it's needed. Sometimes doing the shift clicking, you lose a bit of that character, so going in and trying to draw that straight line manually looks nicer. I will do the shift click here though, where there isn't really a shadow, but I just want to get the point across that there's a change in slope there. can see that adding those shadows really makes that base pop out. The left side of the spout as well. And underneath the lid handle. Okay, now we can do lighting. Exact same thing. Screen is basically the inverse of multiply. The same color will add the same amount, but in the opposite direction, so lighting it. On the opposite sides of the shadows, we'll put all lighting. It doesn't have to be much. You can see already, as soon as we do that, it just pops out of the screen a little bit. I might just get rid of that shadow there. It looks a bit weird. That's fine. Try to get the curve in there. Maybe a little around the spout too. I don't always know what I'm doing when I'm putting these down. I just paint it in, and if it looks good, I keep it. A little bit of lighting on the handle as well. A little there. And now I'm just going to add like to really give the point across that this is metallic and it's shiny. I'll just put a dot there. I'll put a little stroke there, a little stroke here. Wasn't needed, but it does look nicer. And we're done. So now we can just duplicate these layers and merge them together so we have one. That's our final result. And now we just need to export this one layer. Exporting the one layer like this means we keep the transparent data and save it in my master folder. Okay. Into Maya now, so we'll just start by getting our project ready. Project window, new project, Maya Kettle. We'll save it in that Kettle master folder that I've got on my desktop. And now we can save the scene. And I'll bring in the reference first this time. So I've just switched to the front pane and then imported the image plane. Make sure it's in the center. I'm just looking at the lines at the bottom of the base, around about 20 to 30 centimeters diameter. That'll do. Okay, and we'll start with a disc. So we start off with good quads. We use the cylinder, we'd have poles. We'll start off with a disc instead and we'll just extrude. I'll make that just the side eyes at the bottom. And we can extrude upwards. We'll just do this whole part first. Extrude again. And then I'll cut in the part here. And then we can just grab that edge and stretch it out, scale it out, and then we can bevel that to make it smooth. That's basically the canister done. Let's think about this spout. I'll probably use a curve, a NURBS curve to make this one. So I'll just draw everywhere. I'll put put a curve point down everywhere I think the curve's going to change. And I'll just make sure the end goes out further, and we'll cut this off later. Doesn't have to be exactly what I did in the concept. And then we'll use the sweep. And that gives us the geo here. I turned up the precision to 85. And then optimize just makes it only put in edges where there's curves. Yeah, let's go 90 instead. And then just scale it down so it's around about the same size as the concept. And then we can just delete the history so we no longer need the curve. All right, don't need that edge. And now let's cut off the top so it's flat. I'll just bring in a cube right over there, and I'll just do a Boolean difference. So click the spout, click the cube, Boolean difference, and delete history. We've got that baked in now. And that'll give us a face, which we don't need. And this is a hollow tube now. But I do want to extrude the top so we don't see the back sides of faces. I'll extrude it inwards and then extrude again and pull that edge down in the tube. Now you won't really see the backside of faces. And then I'll just bevel this as well. Okay. I'll soften those edges, soften harden edges. And that'll do. I could have had some more faces to the spout, more resolution, but that's okay. All right, the handle. Another disc. 4 sides, 2 subdivisions for this one. Make it the same size, and then need to rotate this. I'll put it close to the canister, but not right up against it. Not yet. Extrude this out that way. We've got normals facing the wrong way, so just reverse those. Okay, and I'm going to duplicate it for the other side. Now this one, I'd want to just be vertical for now while we work with it. It's just easier to work with it while it's aligned with the grid. Make it around about the right length. Unless we're going for complete accurate dimensions. You can just rough these out. The quick way to grab all these faces on the bottom, just select the middle vertex, then click Control F11. That'll give us those. All right, I'll extrude this in just a little, just so the cap gets that little bevel on it. Bring that around about the right size. And then we'll cut this out to make the curve. That's similar, before I bevel, I need to just scale this down and then bevel so we get that tapered curve. Okay, that's good. Looks good. And now we can rotate. I'll just try to get this as close as I can. Maybe needs to be a little bigger. I'll do the same method. I'll cut the top off to get it flat using a Boolean with a cube. Oh, that's not a cube. Select the tube, select the cube, Boolean, difference. Okay. And then delete the history. And then we can just fix up these polys. I'll just add some normal areas there. Then we can just cut in the edges. Okay, that's all quads. Now these two, I'll probably boolean these together as well. And then just fix the polys up here. These edges are pretty close together. I can probably merge them. Let's boolean union these together. And then delete history. And then let's use target world. And I've just got the settings on center. So these will meet in the middle as I drag them together. Means that our tubes won't be perfectly cylindrical anymore, but oh well. We'll see how it looks at the end. If there's any normal errors, we'll fix it. All right, now we need to make this not a big end gun anymore. We need to make these all quads. So I'll add one in for each of these edges. And that'll add it on both sides, and then I can just connect these up. Okay. Now it looks a bit funny, so we need to do some work. Might bevel this whole edge loop here just to give it some more geo to work with. And then just adjust these so the faces are more averaged out. There's no slithers. And it's kind of deforming the right way. And this should get rid of our normal errors. Yep, that looks nice now. We don't need this face here because it's going to just intersect the canister. Move that edge in. Good. And I will add a cut here. I need a straight cut, so I'm just going to pull down on the multi-cut tool like so. And that'll be, those faces will be the metal. Okay. And it looks okay. We can work on the cap. So another disc. Again, it'll be 4 sides and 2 subs. These are game models, so we're making it an efficient model. But we won't do a high poly bake for this one. Extrude it down. And put it there. Obviously, we need to reverse these. We can do the cut and bevel, get our curve. Okay. And then the bottom, I'll just extrude out. So it's got a bit of a flat. Same thing, grab the vertex, Control F11. And extrude that down. All right. We'll then extrude it again, scale it inwards, extrude again, and scale it down. And that's the handle. But I should delete the face first before we intersect it. And now on the canister, we need to make the lid geometry. So Control F11 on that middle vertex. Then it's right and left arrows. Grab more or less. Extrude that in and then detach it. So this lid is detached from the canister. Move that, extrude that upwards, then extrude that inwards, and then extrude again downwards. And this wasn't on my reference, but on that Barista website, you can see more pictures of this. I knew that the lid was like this. And then this can just come back up even. And that's how it looks. Just bring these faces up. Just to the very, just intersecting. Okay, that looks good. So that's the whole kettle done. We still need the base, the cube, and scale it. And then we'll bevel this. 2 segments and fraction. We'll turn the fraction down. I want it to look a little smooth. That looks good. Okay. Now we can start addressing UVs. I won't combine these yet. I'll do the UVs first. So delete the UVs we've got, then create a new camera base. Now we could use the auto seams to automatically cut where any hard edges are. So that's in the UV menu here, auto seams. So it's just going to cut where there's hard edges. And then we'll see how that looks when we unfold. Get out. And that looks good already, just as is. So the handle's done. This one's easy, shouldn't need anything. But I will delete it. Create a camera base. And lay it out. Okay. Now the canister. Delete the default. Create a new camera base. And we'll use the auto seams again. Let's undo that. Auto seams seems to do everything that's attached. So we'll just cut this manually. Select all the hard edges. 2 at the top and the 1 at the bottom. Shift X to cut. And then we need 1 edge down the sides to be a seam. Oh, and I actually want to smooth and bevel. So I wanted to bevel this one so it's a bit more obvious. If I make it a soft edge, you won't be able to see it. Let's put some more edges there. All right, so unfold. It's fine, and then I'll that 1 edge down the side. I didn't do the top yet. I'll cut this one. Text to cut. Unfold that. Have a look. Yep. Again, still looks good now. Now the handle. Same process. Delete what we've got. And then create a new camera base. We might have to cut these manually. See how auto seam looks. On the bottom, good. On the top, and then we just need to address the main part. Cut here. And probably cut the edges on the inner. But we don't need to cut the bottom there. So I'll have to manually select these edges from here to here. Shift X to cut. And then the top. X and that little edge there. Shift X. Unfold that. See how it looks. That looks good. We just want these to be oriented in the same direction. So hit the orient button. The base is probably okay how it is already, but I will split this up into 2. This is just the default cube UVs, and I'm just going to grab this middle edge and cut it as well. I haven't got it. Now it's two separate. Unfold both. Later. That's the base done. Grab everything and unfold. Probably still something I've forgotten. There's some weird ones here. Oh, I haven't done the spout yet. Let's grab just the spout. Delete what we've got. New one. And this should only just need one edge. Right down the back there. Button unfold. And yeah, should be fine. Straighten it. Yeah, done. Alright, now we can grab everything and hit layout. And that'll all stack together. Doesn't look like there's any errors anymore. Now we can combine the whole model and delete the history. Make sure we name it. Yep, that all looks fine. No distortion. Now let's do some vertex painting. So I'm going to select all the areas that have metal and use this option, apply color. Any color is fine for now. This part's all going to be metal. This paint it, it'll be in mesh display and apply color. Same as the top, so just all the metal areas. I'm going to select all the metal parts. So I've got the top, the cap on the end of the handle, and the part in the middle. Apply them all to be green. And now that I've got all the metal selected, I can just inverse selection. Now I've got everything else but the metal, and I'll give it a different vertex color. This is going to help us texture. And then the inner of this spout is also going to be metal. Make that green. Okay. So you'll see why we did this when we get to substance. Delete history. This still needs a material. Let's give it a material. Standard surface. Make sure we name it. Kettle. Okay. And I think the model's complete. We can export this now. Let's export it as an FBX into the master folder. Done. Okay, into substance now. So let's make a new project. Select our model. Saved in our Maya folder. I'll just use 2K again, but we definitely don't need 2K for this. We could use much less. First thing we do when we bring in new models is always bake the mesh maps. So the difference with this one is we need to change the ID to vertex color, and that's going to pull those vertex colors that we made. Use low poly as high poly mesh. Turn down these parameters. Turn up anti-aliasing. Go, bake that. You've seen the preview of those vertex colors there. We'll be able to use them on our mask. We can bring in our reference into PureRev, our concept, so we can have an idea of what colors we want. I'll just keep that open there. Okay, so typical non-procedural, typical procedural workflow, we'll use a fill layer. This will be the base blue. Try to get something close to our reference. So and then we can do the base metal. And now we will add a mask with color selection, hit pick color, and hit the green. Now this layer is only affecting those green vertex colored areas. Turn the metallic up, turn the roughness down. And that's good as a base. Affecting the end of the spout there. Now we can just blur this color selection just so it blends a bit nicer, so we don't get that really hard difference between the two. That'll do. It's just a little bit of blur, 0.1. Okay. Now let's add another layer. This will be for some details. Let the hot plate. On this layer, we're just going to turn up the height. We'll add a black mask, add a paint to that black mask. And now we can just paint this height in. We can kind of see our AO shaded area here as a reference. I want this to be a hard brush. Turn the hardness up. And if we just click once, I'll make it a little bigger, 105. We just click once right there. And let's take a look at what that looks like in the 3D view. We can see we've got that height information there now. We're faking that detail, faking the hot plate that the kettle sits on. Let's make another fill layer. This will be for the buttons that exist on the kettle. They're black, turn black up, give it a black mask, add another paint layer, and we can just paint these in now as well. There's a big display on the left and there's some buttons on the right. Click there, then we'll just cut away at this circle for the buttons. So I've just get 2 for eraser, make it a hard brush. And let's cut away at this circle. Got like a D-pad style control. So, and cut away at the middle. And then it's got a big button in the middle. So go back, press 1 for the brush, paint it in, and that's done. That's how the buttons look. And then these buttons just need some height. So they're coming up. So this is just affecting the normals. You can see the lights interacting with those now. Edges of those. Okay. Now we can add some more details to this. I know on my kettle, there's some parts of it where the paint's been scratched away. Before I do that, I'm going to use the pen tool here. I'm going to turn on wireframe so I can use this as a reference. There's a little bit of a divot that goes around the kettle here. So I'm going to use the pen tool to draw this in using the wireframe as a reference. And I've actually put this on a paint layer, not on a fill layer. Get rid of the wireframe now. It's on a paint layer. But these parameters will affect just this one pen path. So if I turn height down, you'll see what it's doing now. So it's just got a difference between the canister and the bottom of the kettle like that. And it isn't perfectly straight. So I can go in and adjust this path. I can add more control points. Make it as straight as I can. And just click off the layer so I can preview that. That looks fine. And what other details? That's right. We were going to add I know it gets scuffed on the bottom of the spout here. So I'll add a paint layer to my detail and then just test it. Now I want to just affect the color, the metal, and the height. Maybe the roughness as well. So we'll make the height less. So we're going to eat away at the paint. Let's find a brush that's very scratchy like, suitable for scuff marks. Maybe one of these charcoal ones. Right, yeah, that looks good. Yeah, so underneath the spout here it gets scuffed. this was such an easy texture to do that I wanted to just something. Control Z that because I want it to be a bit darker. That looked too bright. Okay. So just a couple little details there. We don't need our reference anymore. But I think the textures for this done, so we can export it now. Export textures. I'll just use the default parameters. I just need to change the folder. I'll chuck it into my. I'll make a new folder. I'll make a textures inside the Maya folder, and I'll export them all to here. Just the default template. Export. There's all the maps we get. One last thing, don't forget to save your Painter project. Alright, I'll make a fresh new Unreal project, but you don't have to. You could use the one from a previous tutorial. But I'll make a new Unreal project in the master Kettle folder. That was a blank project with scalable settings. That's all I've changed. Okay, we're greeted with the default level. First thing first, we'll create our folders. One master folder, then the art folder and the maps folder. Create a new level in the map folder. Let map kettle do. Open that up. Alright, now we can use our environmental light mixer here to click all the buttons, get our lighting. That tells us where the center of the world is as well. Okay, we have some direction. Same as the other tutorials, I'll make a shape to place the kettle on. I'll move it directly in the center and then just move it slightly. Into the art folder, I'll make that same gray material. Make it a slightly darker gray and with full roughness. Dock that in up there. Drag the gray onto our cube. Alright, now we can import all our things. We need our textures and our FBX. I've put all in the Maya folder. FBX is in the scenes folder. Now we can just tick off that we don't want it to make a material. Okay, put that in. And now let's grab our texture maps. And I just need the base color, the metallic, the AO, the normal, the DirectX normal, and the roughness. Okay, drag our kettle in and get it set up. Hit end for it to be placed on the ground. Make it a bit bigger and then hit end again. And then I'll just make sure it's around about in the center. That'll do. Alright, let's make our material. Open that up and drag all our maps in now. Base color to base color. The metallic. I think that's AO, the normal, and this one's roughness. I might comment here. Use or not, AO, use or not. But let's just see how it looks when we drag it on as a moment to load, and our metallic is way too shiny for the buttons. I'm going to address that. We could either remake those textures or we can do some math in here. I'll make a roughness multiplier. Global scalar. So increase the math, increase all roughness values by 2. Plug that in. Didn't make much difference. I guess if the roughness is really low, then multiplying it by 2 or 3 isn't going to do much. Maybe we could find a way to clamp it. I think so we need to give it a minimum value. Let's try 0.3, plug that in. Now that I think about it. Delete that and instead I think it'll be max. So it's either going to be the value of it. Yeah, this will clamp it. Right now this will clamp it. Using the max. Yeah, that's going to use the highest value, either 0.3 or the value from the map. So that's clamping it. Now, since we've got an extra time, I might make a light blueprint here. So I've just created a new blueprint. Open that up. I'll dock it in. Let's add it here. This is just for us to know where this is pointed. It won't be used. But we're going to add some lights to this blueprint. So add any kind of light you want. I'll use these rectangular lights. I'll add 3. I'll use the 3 light system. Duplicate one there, one here. And then I'll want one at the back, which is going to be I can't remember what these lights are called, but this 3-point system is commonly used for dramatic lighting. Two vertical lights at the front, one big flat one at the back. Be a bit softer. These ones will be a bit closer and harsher. This should look good on a cylindrical object like our kettle. So let's drag in our... Oh, why not? Let's add a rotating movement to here. So our lights will automatically rotate when we hit play. So the spheres, just so we know where they're pointed at, but we can hide that in the cube. We've got a light blueprint now. So we don't really need our environmental lighting anymore. So, I'll just find them and delete them in the outliner here. So delete all those default ones except for our kettle, our blueprint, and our cube. Now we can see our lights working there. So that's just a bit of a different way to look at your model. And we're done.